first speaker for this morning's session is the 24th Administrator of the U.S. Small Business Administration and a member of President Obama's cabinet. Throughout her career, she has been a champion of diversity, access to capital, and equal opportunity for all Americans. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Honorable Maria Contreras-Sweet.
Let's go. Thank you so much. Thank you. Whoa, how wonderful that you got up at 8 o'clock in the morning to join me this morning. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And what, you're into day 3 now? Yes. Have you gotten a chance to party, go to the Fox Theater, do some fun things? No, okay. Well, we're going to do it tonight, aren't we? All right, we're going to do it tonight. Anyway, I know that you've been talking about some important things over the last couple of days, and now, day 3, we've got to put these ideas into action, ladies and gentlemen. Today's got to be a day of action, right? All right. Very good. Well, let me just tell you what a pleasure it was to get up early in the morning. And do you know who was there to greet the group? You bet. It was Ambassador Young. Are we fortunate to have him in the room? Oh, my goodness. A treasure, history, a legacy for all of us. And from my hometown, just had a chance to visit with your very own John Hope Bryant. And so this has been quite a treat for me already. He and I come from the same town in Los Angeles, and so it's really nice to check in and see how old friends are doing. No, not old friends, just friends, just friends. My husband said that he met Maria Contreras and made her sweet. Maria Contreras-Sweet? Okay. It's too early for that one. All right, very well. Anyway, I'm just delighted to be here to tell you that we wanted to get out and talk to the real advocates of our community to make certain that we could talk about entrepreneurship and the ways in which we can create from within. Today, we must move forward in answering the important question, what will it take to include everyone in the new economy? The answer requires action from each of us. Dr. King said, and we have to honor him on his birthday here, human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Progress is forged one person at a time by people like you and me, taking time to give back and taking risks for what we believe in. Government can help by creating economic opportunity, but it must be seized by you, and that's what today's agenda must be about. So let's take Dr. King's message to heart. I know the president has. Any of you listen in to So Too, to the State of the Union? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, then you heard him say, we have had 70 months of consecutive job growth. You would think that there was something else going on in our country, but we have seen it. We have seen a new 14 million jobs created in our economy. This president is taking action, and we cannot stand by and let anybody else tell us otherwise. The strongest 2 years of job growth since the 90s. He also talked about how much more we have left to do. And at Cabinet, when I sit alongside him, and the Secretary of Labor and the Secretary of Commerce announced the data about the job growth, I get to assert, but Mr. President, 2/3 of that job growth has come from small businesses. That's the exciting thing, that it's the small businesses that are driving our economy, and that's why I think that the Small Business Administration can be relevant to the work that you're doing each and every day. The president said, in this new economy, workers and startups and small businesses need more of a voice, not less. As the president's voice for small business at the cabinet seat, I hold the seat of entrepreneurship. And I'm delighted to tell you that I couldn't agree more with the president's view. When you want to talk about economic opportunity, when you want to talk about inclusion, you have to be talking about small businesses because we are creating the majority of jobs. Atlanta has so many Fortune 1000 companies. How many of you are here local? How many? Quite a few, quite a few. So let me just say, 1,000 Fortune companies, but they are the second highest rated city in America at having employees work for small businesses. So the growth that you're seeing, the vitality, is coming from Georgia Tech and Emory and all these universities, 250,000 students and engineers coming out and creating innovation, disrupting and hacking. We need more of us to be doing that kind of work. And programs like Hope Coalition America and Hope Corps are promoting financial literacy and empowerment throughout the country and indeed the world. I was recently traveling with the president to Kenya for the Global Entrepreneurship Summit, and I saw the challenges that we see at home are not bounded by borders. The global economy is changing rapidly. The internet has democratized information, but many still lack the financial literacy to build sustainable businesses. Everything is digitized, but the process for creating your business is still tangled up in red tape. We can make change, and all of us have a role to play: individuals, institutions, and governments, investors. And that absolutely includes the SBA, to make sure that the pathways of opportunity remain open for everybody. And as the president said, it's not just about finishing strong in the final year of his administration, it's about ensuring that our gains are enduring. We can open the doors, you need to knock them down and keep them down so that we can continue to make sure that government works for us. I don't want to be about happy talk. I want to make sure that we're having an honest conversation. And I want to remind you that the president's time is finite, my time is finite. So what we want to do is impart information so that you know what services are available and that you can continue to make these legacies enduring, the progress that we've made. Last year, SBA here in Atlanta, Georgia, just as an example, we supported over $1.3 billion to small businesses and entrepreneurs. And let me tell you how we did that. When I arrived at SBA, I changed a new frame. I call SBA now smart, bold, and accessible. Yes. I said, we need to make certain that we're using technology in a way that empowers the aspiring entrepreneur. And so I know that many of you told me as I traveled across the country that when you knock on a bank's door, sometimes what you get is a very slow maybe. And we want to make sure that we get you to a yes faster. So I put up technology called Link, L-I-N-C. And now, well, have any of you ever used Match.com? Okay, don't tell me, that's all right. Don't tell me. But if you knew what Match.com is like, you would know that you answer some simple questions and then your information is routed to create a relationship that could be enduring. We're doing the same thing with that same technology. You answer, when you go on this LINC link at sba.gov, you answer some questions. We route your answers to those banks in your geographic preference that have a propensity to provide that kind of loan that you're interested in. And so now you have banks competing for your loan as opposed to the other way around. That's empowerment. What you also told me is that the loans that SBA puts out are a little more expensive than the other loans. So what did I do? We zeroed out fees on loans under $150,000 because we know that that's when you start your business, that's when capital is the toughest to get. 3, you also told us that our paperwork was just so complicated once you got that application. So just a couple of months ago, I launched a program called SBA One that is now digitized information. And it has e-verify, e-signature, and populates what you need to answer and zeroes out what you don't. And so all of these changes put in place, then you said, but I can't find those SBA loans. So I launched a campaign to recruit more credit unions and more community banks. Credit unions don't pay taxes, they are nonprofit, and they don't have CRA responsibilities like banks do. And so we reached out to them and said, you got to get into the SBA game and become partners and make sure that you're putting out those loans for $50,000 and under. And they did. As a result of this, I want to tell you that our loans across the country, particularly to people of color, are up by 23%. Very proud of that work. And ladies, here in Atlanta is an example because we want to make sure that women are also starting businesses at the same rate. And so I just drew the number up this morning to see how we were doing in Atlanta. Our women-owned loans here in the city are up by 70%. So we want to continue to do that work. Anyway, let me just say again, and I said that some of you are trying to start a business, you go through extensive regulation, and the city has this labyrinth that you have to negotiate through. So I launched a business, and a new program, I should say, and it's called Startup in a Day, so that small businesses can go to their municipality, and your mayor here in Atlanta was one of the first to sign on, and to agree to putting in a new system so that when you go in, you can find all of the solutions, all of the permitting that you need on one site, complete it in a day, and submit it, and then hope that they approve you later. But those are the kinds of initiatives that we're taking on at SBA. That's the smart systems. The bold is about, I said SBA, smart, bold, and accessible. The bold is about the new marketplace. When I grew up, I thought about, my job at a local florist shop, and that florist shop was worried about the flowers that were being sold across the street and what their price on roses is and was. Today, they compete with flowers that are coming in from Israel and around the world, from Chile. And so whether you want it or not, the globalized marketplace is here. We want to take you through that journey. We want you to know that 95% of the world's consumers are outside of the United States. We want to make sure that the Chinese and other countries aren't the only ones that partake. You've been to the retailers. You know where that stuff's coming from. We have to make sure that Americans are getting those jobs. And that's why the president is pushing for TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, so that there are safe rules of engagement. This is the first ever trade agreement that has a complete chapter for small businesses. I'm proud of that work, and I think it will take us a long way to making certain that small businesses are able to do business with our strategic allies around the world. To that end, I want to invite you, because the president, while he's been hosting global entrepreneurship summits around the world, this year we're going to be doing it in Silicon Valley. So I hope you look us up and track what we're doing and come out and join us out in Silicon Valley. But there's another sector of our population that I know that you're thinking about, and I am too, I want you to know. And that is some of the work that John and Operation Hope are doing too. And that's to provide hope for those people who have been in our criminal justice system. It's something the president and I think about hard. And as I think about what's going on, to know that every year almost 700,000 ex-offenders return to our communities facing enormous barriers to employment. In his State of the Union, President Obama said, "Our collective future depends on our willingness to stand up for others, especially the weak, especially the vulnerable, knowing that each of us is only here because someone, somewhere, stood up for us." Thank you. To me, that means not giving up on the people who took a wrong turn and already paid their debt. That means that we've got to make certain that we can help them contribute back to society. So I have a little story I want to share with you. There's a lovely gentleman that I got to meet. His name is Ricky Brown. Back in the 80s, Ricky moved from the farms of Fayette to the streets of Atlanta to pursue a career in radio. Ricky had a good career at a local station, but this was the height of the drug epidemic. And so in 1993, Ricky was arrested for selling and ended up serving 13 years in federal prison. When he was released in 2006, the world was a different place. He remembers his first trip to a grocery store. A woman was chattering into a little black box. Ricky went up and said, "Excuse me, ma'am, I'm not trying to be funny or awkward. I just want to know what you're doing talking to a black box." Well, he had never seen a cell phone. The world had changed so much that fitting in was hard. Ricky moved from job to job, unable to maintain employment once people learned about his past. And so, before hitting rock bottom, someone running a business met Ricky and saw his potential. The entrepreneur helped Ricky discover a passion for entrepreneurship. After a few years of learning the ropes, he had an idea. I know how I can give back. I know how I can create jobs. Knowing my situation, I can help cure that problem. In 2010, he started a staffing company dedicated to placing re-entry citizens back into jobs. Asking a company to take a chance on ex-offenders, as he was doing, isn't easy. Finding capital for that concept wasn't easy either. Someone came forward and said, "I like your idea and I'll invest in you. But you know what? I'll invest in you if you change your idea and make sure that you're hiring the regular, normal people and not these ex-offenders. $100,000, I'll invest in your company if you change your business model." He gave them a resounding no. I'm committed to this work. And so he continued to do what he did. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, you can just imagine what happened, because all of a sudden, he found his way through, and the city mayors across the country started paying attention to him. And here in Atlanta, he was given the contract for maintenance for the Atlanta Falcons Stadium. His first big contract. And then Atlanta gave him the public school system contract for maintenance. And his contracts continue to grow and grow, and now his business is growing too. In fact, starting at one employee himself, he now employs 400 employees. This is a remarkable story. Never doubt the power of one person to create change. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to meet Ricky here today. Ricky, please stand up. One man's courage is changing the world. So what did I do when I met Ricky? He inspired me so much. The SBA has just joined the Ban the Box movement. When you come into SBA to ask for the $50,000 and under question, we don't ask you anymore if you've committed a criminal offense. That is, you've paid your debt to society, and so let's get on with it, and let's give you the ability to re-enter with honor and with dignity and get your business afloat. If you hit glass ceilings, if you're not getting a job in government, you can always create your own job through entrepreneurship, and that's what Ricky did, and that's what just inspires us to continue to do so much. We will continue to lift up these heroes and celebrate people like you each and every day. Today, on Martin Luther King's birthday, I'm reminded of my own story. I was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. I didn't know a word of English when I got here, but it was people like Andrew Young who inspired me to achieve more than I thought that I ever imagined. I remember being in 3rd grade and writing to my grandmother. No, we didn't have email then. And writing to my grandmother and said, "Abuelita, I'm now in this beautiful United States, settled into a community in Los Angeles, and I've become the 3rd grade milk monitor." And she said, "It's not the titles that you have, it's what you do with the titles that you have that should move you and inspire you to go forward. Serve others, and things will come. The good Lord will somehow pay you back some way along the way." Thank you. And so I've started nonprofits to help improve people's ability to have a quality, affordable health care system. I've served my state as California Secretary of Transportation, and then I thought, in a capitalist society, we need to have access to capital. And so I started what every woman does when she gets frustrated with the system. I started a bank. And so that bank, I made sure that we were financing people of color and making certain that we were giving them opportunity. And I'm so grateful that the president saw his way to seeing the power of our work and the power of change, and that he asked me to serve as a member of his cabinet to do my work at the national level. I'm so taken in. Never in my abuelita, my grandmother's imagination, did she ever say, when we left and I was tugging at her skirt saying, "Abuelita, but I don't know where I'm going, this place, Los Angeles. I don't understand English. I don't know what they'll say to me." And she said, "Mija, daughter, if you stay focused, someday, although we've been a family of migrant workers, you might be able to work in an office and even be a secretary." I know she didn't imagine I'd be holding office and be a cabinet secretary. Only in America. Only in America. And that's why I'm so taken in by social mobility, upward mobility. I owe this country a great debt of gratitude, and I'm committed to making certain that you can replicate your dreams and that SBA is there for you. And that's why I end with the A, accessible. We have to make sure that we are accessible to everybody, whether you're a man or a woman transitioning out of a uniform. We want to make sure that our Boots to Business program is there for you. We want to make sure that if you're a woman, that now the new law that we just helped pass and that I fought so hard for, sole sourcing for women, because we cannot get to a 5% contracting goal with women. We must use that not as a goal, but as the floor of how much business we ought to be doing with women. We want to make sure that as our millennials are finding a hard time finding a job, that they have the ability to answer and enter the digitalized sharing economy, the creative economy. I want to make sure that our encore entrepreneurs who aren't ready to retire but have been pushed out of corporate America have the ability to come and create their second act. I want to make certain that the deaf and hard of hearing who have an unemployment rate of 49% can create solutions for their challenges. I want to make sure that we're accessible to everybody. And I'll close with this. Martin Luther King, one of my favorite quotes on this wonderful weekend where we celebrate his important legacy, and it was featured in Selma recently. He said, "What good is it to be able to sit at an integrated counter if you can't afford to buy the hamburger?" I want you to go with me back to that counter, but not to buy the hamburger. I don't want to help you buy the hamburger. I want to go back and help you buy the restaurant. We want to go into business ownership. That is what the solution, that is what we must do, build legacies enduring so that our children and theirs have a prosperous future and we can control our future and continue the prosperity that our country deserves. Nowhere else in the world can we restore the promise of America so effectively, the promise of upward mobility. So let's use this digitized technological advancement to make sure that when I come back to Atlanta and travel across the country, that I see more buildings with your names. People of diverse, owning more buildings and created international possibilities around cybersecurity, precision medicine, aeroponics, and all the solutions that the world is awaiting for us to solve. God bless you and God bless America. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.